Welcome, everybody, back to another session of Join the Chat. You can join us on YouTube, on our YouTube channel at Join the Chat 1. You can join us on Instagram, or is it Snapchat? Snapchat. At Instagram, Join the Chat 1 as well. I am your moderator. I am your host. I am one of your panelists for the evening. I am Renford, Mr. Bojangles. Alongside with me, we have the dynamic Joe, feeling all infused, being the center of the attention with the big screen tonight. He is on the speaker view. I see you live and large and direct and in living color. Feeling all infused, being the center of the attention with the big screen tonight. And then we also got the Miss Fabulosity. Kimmy is in the house today. We missed her last week or 2 weeks ago on the last session, but she is back with her fabulosity, all greened up. I think she's still celebrating St. Patrick's Day. I'm not sure, but she is here with us tonight. We got Andre with us with the impeccable lighting tonight. He's just shining. Head is glistening. He is under pressure, and we haven't even started anything yet. Once again, everyone, welcome to Join the Chat. This is the place where every single voice matters, where your opinions are important, where you're empowered to express yourself, and we try to offer a free and an open space for you to speak and also to be heard. So welcome everybody to Join the Chat. I wish I had a little button I could press and then the round of applause would go. But, we working with the budget that we got right now. That's in the near future. How's everyone tonight? Joe, Andre, Kimmy, how are y'all?
Feeling good, feeling great.
Kimmy,
it's not a coincidence to be alive.
For real. Kimmy, talk to us, man.
Oh my gosh, I missed you guys so much. I was fiending. Y'all had me like Jodeci, just fiending to join the chat. So I'm so happy to be here. I'm so excited. You all look great. I'm so blessed. I can't wait to get into the gravy.
Let's get into it. Joe, I saw that you had a sidekick there with you. Would you like to introduce who made that quick cameo?
Pardon?
Would you like
all those people were clapping? I didn't hear.
I said, do you want to talk about the cameo? You just had a guest or a sidekick with you 2 seconds ago. Talk to us.
Oh, that's my little puppy, honey. Come say hi, honey. She doesn't care anymore. Really excited to be back with you guys, though. Kimmy, we definitely missed you last week and your energy, but you're here now, and that's all that matters.
Now, again, this is a forum where we want everyone to kind of share their opinions. So feel free to, if you have any questions, if you have any comments, if you have any queries for any one of the panelists or the host this afternoon, make sure you put that in the chat. I will get to it. If you want to join the chat, we want to give you an opportunity to do that as well. Can we post up the link again where people need to reach out to if they do want to connect with us? Going to my broadcast booth right now. Let's put that up on the screen. Let's put that up on the screen one more time. Let's leave it up for a good 20 to 30 seconds so you can connect with us all at, you have the link there, Joe? Okay, beautiful. www.moon.com.
That's in the private chat, though. I don't know how to put it in the comments.
All right. Well, we'll go to our broadcast booth for that. We'll get to that in a moment. But let's get this thing going. Before I get on to the topics tonight, I just want to know what everyone's definition of control is. What is your definition of control? So once again, the link is there, studio link, https://streamyard.com, GIT. Make sure we have the right one up there. Make sure we have the right one up there, because that might take them to the last session. So what is your definition of control? Joe, talk to me. What is your definition? When you hear control, or you say control, or control is exerted on you, what is your definition of control?
I think it's like you exercise your authoritative control or power over someone.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Webster's dictionary.
That's very, yeah, I was going to say something like that. Andre, what is your definition of control?
I'll say pretty much what Joe said, exercising the authority. Yeah, it's something like that. It's when you, I don't want to reuse the word, but it's when you, how you put it now? You have command, or you can will something to your liking or in your favor to say, or have it to, that's what I think it is, to will something in one's favor or to get there.
Kimmy.
Like COVID. Just kidding. No one go off in the comments. I'm kidding. Stay at home. Wear your mask.
What's your definition of control?
Well, you guys worded it very well. I would just say kind of doing things to try to manipulate the outcome to your advantage or your conceived advantage, I guess.
Okay. All right. So Joe had a very nice definition that he read via website. So something that was there was your authoritative power. So who is the person that gives you that authoritative power in order for you to have control? Does there have to be an entity?
It's deep.
Joe, you brought it to us. So authoritative power. Who decides who gets that authoritative power?
I think you all decide. We all make our own choices. So, if you think of it as controlling someone else, you control the way that their actions, how you react to those actions. Same thing if someone's really good at a sport, the way they manage holding a football or a basketball, or a paintbrush, they authoritatively control the way that's working. So it's not necessarily control over someone else. It could be the way your actions are controlling. But for me, it's like you take control over yourself and the way you react to certain situations.
Okay. I like it. Do we need to expand on it, or has Joe taken the cake?
Repeat the question. When you say when you authoritative.
My question was, one of the aspects of having control was having authoritative power. So who is giving that authoritative power, or where does that authoritative power come from?
From oneself perspective, it will come from within. You could call it an entity, or the spirit inside. But to have one control over someone else, no, That's them giving it up. Sometimes it can be done consciously and it can be subconsciously. Where, for example, as Kimmy in her explanation said, to manipulate an outcome, you can manipulate people outside of your own entity, but for your own self, I don't think you will manipulate yourself to doing something. But it can be a spirit-led thing, or or a deity-led thing from a personal point of view. But in terms of other people, I'll say they give you that power to have control over them, maybe subconsciously, or they don't even notice, or willingly.
Okay. Why I started with the definition of control is, the first topic that we're going to delve into tonight, and it might get deep, and I'm not worried if it does get deep, but I want to know: are you in control? Are you in control of your life? Do you believe that there's a destiny and a path that's already prescribed for you, and no matter what happens, it's just going to end up being that way? And the third aspect of that is your life divinely orchestrated? So are you, Joe, in control of the aspects of your life?
100% I am.
What makes
Sorry,
you think that 100% you are in control of your life? You're in control of your life.
Because I make the decisions that happen, and I choose how I react to those situations that come out in the world. So, I could just leave right now and say goodbye to you guys, and that would be my choice. No one's forcing me to be here.
Okay. So you say you make 100% of the decisions that affect your life. So what would you say about rules and laws and regulations that tell you must drive on the right-hand side of the road, you must stop at a stop sign, you must stop at a stoplight if it turns red, you must go when it's green? So is that not something controlling your life? And how do you have control over the streetlights and the stop signs?
I have a choice that I can make to follow those rules. If I do not follow some rules, there are consequences to those that you have to deal with.
Kimmy, you're nodding, man. You're drinking and you're nodding. Talk to us.
Yeah, man.
You want to chime in here? Talk about
it's juicy. It's very, very juicy, because I don't think that the answer can be black or white, right? So it depends, It took me a long time to get the memo that I had a lot more control over how I chose and who I chose to give energy to and from, and stuff like that. But I mean, I'm a mom, so I control, the management of the household and stuff like that. But I definitely think that the more in line you are with the inside, the more different your choices are, and more same level opportunities start coming into your world.
Okay. I just have a comment in the chat real quickly, because XCOM Music is disagreeing 100% control. We are in a world where we comply with a lot that we personally wouldn't connect to. So XCOM Music, we thank you for that. Thank you for that. So he's disagreeing with you, Joe. I don't want you to talk. I don't want you to talk on it real quickly, but I want Andre to touch on that. Right. So the comment says he's disagreeing that we're not in control. There's a lot of things that are put upon us as citizens of the society that we don't necessarily agree with or connect with, but we're prescribed to it. What would you have to say about that, Andre?
Yeah, that's true. That is what he's saying, because, for example, like for even going school and Sunday school and all this school curriculum are set in place. We may grow up, and first and foremost, before I go into that, what I want to say is there's, to me, stages to a thing where as a kid you're influences count and kind of dictate where you go or how you're being led. So first and foremost, we get to obey our parents and we go to school and start to follow that system of being giving up our rights, so to speak, or to think on our own. So for example, with the stoplight, what Joey said, yeah, you can make a choice to run the stoplight, but there's consequences. So in a sense, you look at it, say, you know what, it would be smart to do it because majority adheres to that rule, so you're not going to do that one. Or even to stand in line when you go to the cashier, you could probably say, well, I have few stuff in my hand, but the other person there with a bunch of cart and you're gonna wait. It could be like, sorry, could I board the line? So some things set like that, driving on the right hand side versus left hand side of the road. But if you should oppose it, you will seem to be what's the word I'm looking for now? You would be
Deviant.
Disobedient, so to speak, or people will consider like you're rude, unruly, or or put tags on you, start to label you because you're not following that program. You know what I mean? And even with your parents, sometimes you don't agree with your parents wish for you, like, oh, Renford go to university, but Renford is on a different path, and then because Renford want to do what he want to do, you start to hear man ruly, and there's consequences. You can't stay in my house. So it's the same. So it's society, the broader society is just an extension of what we grew up in our small home, then to school, then into the working world. So what ex-con is saying is I kind of agree with you in a sense, and what Joe is saying too is right. We're maybe now at this age, Joe is in control of Joe, but growing up on a path, obviously other influences, maybe his mom, whatever, until he becomes his own man and start to realize, you know what, that was what they thought was right, or that was the way they grew up into doing things. So this is me taking control of me at this stage.
So Joe, what would you have to say if a couple of things have came up, but consequences dictate how some of us act, or that's going to make us not want to do a thing or do something. So do you think those consequences to an action or to a prescribed law or regulation, does that consequence indirectly or even directly create a control?
On some people, yes, it does.
Can you expand on that? How would it?
I would love to. So today we have a stay-at-home order, right, in Ontario. Did anyone go outside today?
I did.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm not asking if you broke the law. What I'm saying is, like, when you were outside, did you see people doing things that weren't necessary? Like going for a walk?
Yes.
Those are the little things that, like, COVID's just a great example right now, because, like, okay, let's do it for the people, keep everyone safe, and then we all pile on, we're all listening, we're doing the best, and then now things are starting to unravel in people's differences. It doesn't matter what side you're on, but people are being divided, and we're choosing which side we want to go on. So whether you think you need to have a vaccine and stay at home and be safe, or you're like, vaccines are a conspiracy and the government's trying to screw us over, it doesn't matter what side you think, but you get to make a decision on where you lie on those things. So though, like, to touch on his comment, disagree 100% with the world where we comply. I don't disagree with that. A lot of us are in situations where we just comply because it's easier to be blinded by what's going on right now, instead of saying, okay, really, what's going on? Instead of, like, it's all getting together and saying, okay, what's going on? What are the actual facts? What do I believe? What is the truth? Are hospitals being overrun, or some doctors saying it isn't? And if they are saying it isn't, why aren't we listening to those people also, instead of one narrative all the time? So, like, I get the point of, I can't, it's I'm being forced to do things. I think touching on Andre's point where he's saying, you're a little kid, you aren't making those choices. Your mom's saying, this is what's for supper, you're eating. I get that. But when you are fully reliant on yourself and not anyone else, that includes a spouse or a parent, you have 100% of the decisions to make. Anyone can leave right now, Canada, and go live in Texas or Florida where everything's open. You have that option.
Yeah, you can go to a baseball game with 30,000 other fans, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, Joe, you touched on something that I firmly agree with, and you said that 100% you have control over your life because of the fact that you control how you react to things that happen in your life. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. And as a man of faith, it's that's one thing that we're given. We're given free will. We're given the freedom to choose, right? So some people sometimes believe that we don't have a choice, but if the dinner is put in front of you, you have two choices. You eat it or you don't eat it, but that decision is still up on you, right? You can eat it and enjoy it, or eat it and not enjoy it. You cannot eat it and starve, but that's your decision, right? So we have this free will. We might not have absolute control over everything that's happening in society or everything that's happening in our lives, but we have 100% control to how we react to those things that happen in life. So I agree with you on that, Joe. So yeah, that was one of the first points you made. I went around the bend. I came back. But that's what I'm supposed to do as a moderator. Is keep the conversation going. So what I want to know is, do you believe that our lives, now knowing that we're having, well, Joe and I at least are agreeing in terms of we have complete control of how we react to our situations in life. Do you all feel that our lives are predestined? Do you believe that it's already been a script book has already been given? Your end time has already been prescribed, has already been drawn out, has already been thought out, and it's just for you to come into existence to it or connected to it. Kimmy, you nodded, so I'm coming to you first.
As a woman of faith, 100%, I do believe that there is a purpose on everybody's life. And I don't think I was put here by accident. And as I grow in my journey of getting to know God and being more in touch with, the Bible and stuff like that, I do believe that, he knows why he put me here. I also believe that, the more I, ask him to guide me and to show me what he wants me to do and let it be less about me and what I want all the time outside of, peace and joy and harmony and fabulosity. But the more I let go of like, I want, and more, hey, Lord, Wagwan, I'm here. Do with me as you will. It's your will. It's your way. Right? So I don't know. I definitely think that there's a plan for me. I don't think that we just all happened to end up joining the chat together. This is all in the cards, baby.
Andre, I want to hear your view on this. Do you believe that our lives are predestined, predetermined?
Yeah, as a yes or no, could say yes, it's ordained, but I look on it where, from the Most High, in the perspective from the Most High, I think our purpose as humans, all of us have the capability of doing it, is to have control over oneself. Get to know your inner self, and by knowing your inner self is not about, oh, I have a house or a car, just to be in control of your emotions, being control, as Joe said earlier, or you react to things when people talk to you, like negativity, especially. Why you say negative? Because sometimes it's easy to react to positive. Somebody tell us something positive, you laugh, but the negative sometimes hurt you. So it's how you react to those things and controlling that energy within you to say, also, I can will this into being. So I think once we master that will, the path was already created, but we don't know the scenery that each step bring along until we go that part. But in order to achieve one's true purpose, one of the first master his own inner self, in a sense, to say, okay, then this is what Andre want to will to happen. If somebody mess with me along the path, like say something, throw stone at me, so to speak, I will know to anger that situation versus doing what the populace do, or the populace narrative do. So that's what I think the purpose is. So it's not necessarily ordained to say, okay, it's ordained where the house is already built somewhere hidden, waiting for you. No. You have to walk that path, because if you just get up and sit down, for example, if you should just get up and sit down, you're not going to just happen out of the blue to say, yeah, you reach somewhere in life. If you just sit down, because if it's ordained, you have to wait for it. It's not a bus stop.
I just have a question. Am I getting up or am I sitting down? Because you told me to get up, then you told me to sit down. So I'm just trying to figure out what I'm doing. I'm trying to follow you here, Andre.
Oh, no. Me? Me lost.
I joke me.
Oh, I'm lost.
Truly say, get up, then sit down, then get up, and sit down.
Oh, no, because what I'm trying to get at is like, if sometimes people may say when certain things are ordained, then probably think, okay, you're just sitting down waiting for something to fall out of the sky. But it have to be you to go on that path, you know what I mean? So, you to go on that path, as I say, you have to control yourself first, the inner self first, to can will things in your way. And then as things unfold, whatever reward it may seem, then that's the reward that come from it.
I hear that. Joe, do you believe that your life already has a script to it?
No, not at all. I think, the option of free will defines where you can go. I do believe, we're destined for great things on this earth. I think like everyone kind of touched on their own little piece. I think, Kimmy, you are put here for a purpose, to share your fabulosity. Andre, I think I agree with him as well. I think that without the option of having a choice when you wake up in the morning, like, I just don't think every step is predefined. I don't get up and I'm putting my underwear on first today, and God was like, yes, you're doing that. Do you know what I mean? I think like you have the option to make the decisions. Okay, am I going to go left or right today? And when I do left or right, one of the things is going to come out of that. And you usually know, like, I wouldn't say I'm a big Jesus believer, and like I am Christian. I went to a Catholic high school, but I am like a universe believer, and I believe in feelings, and I trust my gut instinct. And I think that guides me the same way that people believe in Jesus does. Do you know what I mean? It's really about you should be making decisions on your daily life that are best for everyone and not just yourself. And that doesn't mean like, if I'm in a car and I'm at a red light, I need to turn left to get someone to the hospital. Cutting the red light's the best thing to do at that time. No one's going to get in trouble, or if I'm, like I have to feed my kids, and I don't pay my bills, like feeding my kids is the most important thing. That's what's best for everyone in that room. That's a really bad example, to be honest.
Listen, so you're saying that there is not a specific way that you wake up every morning and put on your left sock and the underwear and the pants and whatever, right? Would you agree or disagree, or tell me your opinion? Would your life be loosely scripted then? Like you said, you don't have control of when you wake up. Somebody else is waking you up. So is your life loosely scripted, and then you have time to improv here and there as you feel needed?
I think that's like your upbringing. That part's loosely scripted for you. You can't choose who your family is. You're born into that. So those things you can't decide. But everything else that happens after that, like at a certain point, you start to get to decide for yourself. When you hit that like 12 to 15-year-old mark, you're really making decisions for yourself. You're starting to separate from your parents, and you're like, I'm pretty smart. People who grow up with parents who, single family homes, or both parents had to work to maintain the home, or in a rough situation, those kids grow up early. So you have kids at 8 years old making decisions for their life that they feel is best for them. And, just as kids get older, the better parenting and family life you have, the more opportunities you have to it just opens more doors for you.
Go ahead, Kim.
Can I just jump in on that for a second? I totally agree with a lot of that stuff. At the same time, it was between those ages of 12 and 15, and I had a pretty good upbringing. I had both parents in my home, and a little secret, my mom won some dollars back in the 80s. We were bowling, okay? So we were able to enjoy some of the finer things in life. But between 12 and 15 is where I lost my bumbleclot way. I started doing some weird, crazy other stuff. And even though I grew up with, what I mean, certain values, I forgot about that quick time. High school, I was gone. Like, you know what I mean? And so, yes, every day I would wake up, but also I was living a lifestyle and it lasted for quite some time, where I woke up and I had no direction. I was just kind of all over the place. I felt as though I was allowing circumstances and whatever kind of came my way to lead my life, lead my emotions, lead me down a path of madness where you just kind of, keep on trying to maintain, but you don't even realize it's madness. Until I started reconnecting with God for me. And in the morning, first thing when I wake up, like if I give him those moments and I pray and I say, God, it is your will. Thank you for waking me up this morning. Some people went to sleep last night and them make it, So I do believe it's him that wakes me up. And yes, when it comes to like controlling where you want to go and stuff like that, of course, you know, I get it. But at the same time, for me and just what I went through on my journey, it wasn't until I got with God and realized that the way I was living was producing bad fruit for my spirit. And the more time I started giving into re-loving myself and realizing that I'm not living the way that I feel like I was put here to live, that I started to, you know what I mean? Look at my mornings, look at my day, plan my day differently, you know? I don't know. That's my rant.
All right. Well, regardless if we feel like our life is scripted or if we don't feel that it's scripted, what is your view on everyone's life having a purpose? Andre.
Everyone life having a purpose.
Everyone's life having a purpose.
Yeah, everyone have a life of a purpose, but at the end of the day, if you don't make the effort to utilize that purpose, it's purposeless. It's a waste. You know, for example, like saying you have a X5 and you don't drive it, it have a purpose to bring you from a destination point A to point B. But if you're not using it, then that purpose is just waste. So that's why I'm saying, no, at the end of the day, come back to you activating the inner you, the inner self, to know that, yeah, I can will this into being. When I say will something into being, you're talking it into being. And it's not just you, you're talking it with faith and belief inside. Because first and foremost, if we all accept that, for example, to fix peace, I can't expect you to fix it, or it's me have to fix myself. And if I fix myself and in control of myself, and everyone can do that because we're all children of God. So we are a God ourselves, first and foremost. You have to say that. You know, you don't take it to believe in an entity to say, oh, that person or Jesus walked the way. Jesus was a man like us, same way, and he will things too, same way. People throw stones at him, but it's how he react. So at the end of the day, if we can reach that full maximize our true potential within, then the purpose can be activated. But if you don't work on work on your characteristics in whatever way it may be, if it's for in terms of work or in terms of a family man, in terms of just being in a community member, everything of it weighs of all its character, or you put your 2 cents. So you could get up this morning and don't feel the energy to go to work, for example. But at some point during that day, your energy can change because you probably start to think now, because you start to live the purpose now. The inner you start to tell yourself about rent. You're there home 10 o'clock now, bro. You've been up between 6 o'clock. Your day just feel wasteful. So for a progressive person, that person look at the clock and say, no, man, I can't call work and say, you know what, I'm coming in later. But for a person who's just wasteful, for him, 6 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock, he doesn't mind sitting there at the end of the day just living. But he has a purpose. But until he can activate that inner self to go get that goal or to go get whatever it is that drive him, then that purpose is actually inactive that time.
Joe, I'm bringing it to you. So Andre's talking about knowing oneself in order to draw out that purpose. Explain to me how somebody can find their purpose if they don't know themselves. Is that possible?
No. I think you really need to know yourself to understand what you're moving towards.
Tell me what purpose means to you.
Like an individual's purpose?
Individual purpose.
I love this question. I'm so glad you brought it to me. Your purpose basically is anything that you're moving towards. It doesn't matter what it is. Kimmy, you like to sing, you know, for the people at your work, and maybe that's your purpose, and working there and singing and bringing them joy every day. And then one day, you know, Kimmy's on Canadian Idol because she just followed her purpose. Too many of us get caught in the 9-to-5 rat race where we don't enjoy our job. And I'm not saying working 9 to 5 is the problem. I'm saying working the job that you don't like. I work a 9 to 5. I love my job, but I also have side hustles that if it blows up and I get $10 million, I'm probably not going to work my 9 to 5 anymore. But what I do in my spare time, that is my passion, you know, jiu-jitsu, this podcast, and a few other things, that is my passion that keeps me moving forward. You know, that, and obviously my family. But if you're not moving to that, and back to Andre's point, the guy just sitting till 10, 11 o'clock at night playing Xbox, doing nothing. Nothing wrong with playing Xbox. Do you want to be a professional Xbox player? Yes, put the time in. That's cool. But, you know, just someone chilling, playing with their buddies, with their headsets on, like Andre right now. Pew, pew. shooting them, like if that's not passionate to you, you got to get out of that. And the thing is too, is you have these deadbeat friends that hold you back. It's time to cut the reins, let them go. You're 30, you're 40 years old,
Kimmy, I'm going to swing it to you. Joe was talking about whatever, anything that you're moving towards is what's going to be your purpose, right? So you're moving towards that. Do you think that your purpose will attract you?
Yeah, definitely, and I definitely think that when you're not in line, you feel it on the inside. You're not excited, you're not motivated, and stuff like that. And it's true. Life has so many different directions that causes different emotions and feelings. And sometimes you get caught up in it all and you kind of and you lose yourself in it. I speak it because I lived it. I've lost myself in the cyclone of this beautiful life. But yeah, certain things attract you, I love to sing. I love to dance. I feel good. I love to make people smile and stuff like that. I definitely think that I don't really know where I'm going, but I'm trying to do more things that makes me feel motivated and good and fills me with fruit.
Can I ask you a question, Kimmy?
Can
I ask you a question?
Yes.
On that exact point, you don't know where you're going, okay? But when you think of yourself going at something as opposed to not going at something, how different do you feel?
I know where I was going and how that was making me feel. So we flipping them pancakes and I want to go another way, but I had to intentionally decide to take time to reintroduce myself to myself. You know what I mean? And I'm loving the process, loving the journey, but I'm bringing it right back down to the basics, i.e. family. What's my ideal? You know what I'm saying? Like, what do I want? Let me carve out some time. Y'all, I got about 3 planners going right now. It's crazy. I've joined these planner communities. I got stickers. I'm all, organizing stuff because yes, Joe, yes, kinda. I'm understanding. Yes, Bo. Yes, planner life. We're gonna do a planner special. But no, man, I have to really take out chunks of my day, arrange it in ways that I can better get to know myself, know where I want to let out this fruit, and more of the things I want to do. And I just want to speak on one of the comments from Ghislaine Wagwan in the comment section.
I was going to get to that.
Okay, well, can I not just leave off my thing and leave them?
I just wanted to let you know, as Gislaine's comment is coming up, Sierra Beauty was giving you rave reviews. I just wanted to let you know that.
Hey, hi, CC, my playmate. Wagwan. Broops. Thank you for tuning in. I love you guys so much. I'm bursting with juice. I'm just so juicy right now.
To the question.
Yes, okay, sorry. Okay, so Ghislaine says, how would you motivate someone who has been surrounded with people, i.e. parents, friends, teachers, who never knew their purpose in life? And you know what? That's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful thing. Working at the shelter, I'm surrounded by people that don't feel supported. Their attitude is stink. You know what I mean? They came from a line of stink attitude and stuff like that. So I would definitely, like Joe said, sometimes you can't put too much energy into people that don't want to go anywhere. And sometimes the best way to help somebody else that's stuck in their own funk is to keep on filling your life with love, keep working towards your purpose, keep being a blessing to people. And then people will be like, hey, how did you get that shine on you? You sure are chipper. But a little secret, a lot of people want you to be miserable, in my opinion. Some people don't want you. Some people can't handle your fabulosity. Some people can't handle your shine, and they'll take the opportunity to wipe their bums with it after they poo-poo. So you have to be careful and don't throw away your pearls to pigs, and be an inspiration just by living your best life while we're here. So That's what I have to say about that. And Wagwan Slang. Love you.
Yo, Andre, did you want to touch on that comment as well?
How would you motivate someone who has been surrounded with people? Yeah. You can try to motivate them, but to be honest, the best motivation you can give someone is if you actually can put yourself in their foot. If you are someone who's been at the rock bottom, if you're someone who's been, because majority of us go up around family member who think they have it right and they try to instill that on us. But and so if you experience that, it will be easier for you to can encourage that person to say, yeah, I am an example. And when you use that I as an example, the fact that they can touch you, they can reach out to you and see that, yeah, this person actually encountered that, that in itself is enough motivation to know that, yeah, this person is where I'm from and this person actually make it that way. But for someone who never experienced what it's like, for example, I'm just going to give a quick side note. For a child who grew up in a millionaire house, probably don't go to a school a day in his life, probably don't know how to make money a day in his life, but just by growing up around that environment, he will probably find himself making out in life, right? But to talk to someone who come from a family where no one probably was so-called successful in a material terms, they're probably strong-minded and whatever and didn't sell out their soul to gain whatever. That rich kid now will probably find it hard to motivate that person because first and foremost, that there's that subconscious thing that we're going to look and judge that right away to say, you're born rich, bro. It's easy for you to say this. It's easy for you to say that. You don't understand my situation. So it depends. So for someone to motivate a person who grew up in a situation like that, have to actually come from a similar background or a similar ground in that sense to really encourage a person to say that I am the example right in front of you, the living example, you know?
And I think that happens a lot in life. I think that tug of war happens in relationships, whether it's parent and child, whether it's boyfriend and girlfriend, right? Where somebody wants somebody else to do something, but they haven't tapped into that person or asked that person what they want to do, right? You hear about, maybe it's a sports figure and that person has a son and wants their son to also be a sports figure. And, just pumps them into, the best training facilities and, the best teams, but that was never that child's purpose. That child never had an interest in doing that thing. And then that battle happens, or you have parents and they're telling their children to play the violin or something like that, but they just want to be out there, I don't know, helping people doing other things, right? That tug of war happens a lot. Hortense Henry had a comment and he said, what would you say about a person that gets up and say, I don't have any purpose living? Joe, take that comment.
I'd have to have a better conversation with the person to get more in detail. I'd like to know what they're going through right now, really, to understand their situation, to be able to give sound advice. To kind of tie in the comment there by XCom Music, having a purpose has to do with whatever we decide from within ourselves that we need to work towards. I agree 100% with that. And I would tie that comment in to the previous one that you're asking me about and understanding what they're doing. What are you working towards right now that you feel hopeless? Because there's a difference between, like, let's say, I'm going to use Kimmy as a reference. Okay, Kimmy's trying to make it as a singer. She's training hard. She's like, I feel hopeless, isn't working. Well, then you could just encourage them to keep going and knowing that, like, the longer and harder you work at this, even if you don't make it on TV and famous, you're still going to enjoy the process and something good will come out of that. If you're talking to someone homeless and dying and saying, I feel worthless, I have no purpose, that's a whole different mental health conversation that you're having. One's encouragement and one is a person suffering that needs help. And I think you have to be able to decipher between the two of those to understand which way you need to take that conversation.
For both of those comments, for both ex-con, Ghislaine, and actually Mr. Henry's, the fact that those individuals are even speaking of purpose, for me, gives me hope. Because it means that they're trying to find out this thing. They might have to change their circles, right? Like the people who they're around might not be facilitating, encouraging, motivating, or helping to build them up. But the fact that they have that question about purpose in their life lingering, to me, I think it's a good start, right? Now we just have to try to see, like Joe was saying, we have to have more in-depth conversation to see exactly what has been tried, what has failed, and how do we move forward? Ex-con again is saying, yes, Glad you mentioned parent, because a lot of parents out here trying to choose their kid's purpose, and in most cases, it clashes with what the child really wants. And a lot more examples, 100%. You see it with uh, Joe, you have children, so you look in their eyes, and there's probably something. You have children, you look at them, and there's something that you want for them, but then there's just something that they are just gravitating and pulling towards. And I just believe it's our responsibility as parents as well to go out there and figure out what our child is doing well and nurture that. Now, not all parents got that themselves, right? So how do you expect that parent to deliver something that they maybe themselves have never experienced or gotten motivation or that skill set to be able to do? So I want to just take this and pivot it a little bit. So we're talking about purpose. We're talking about parents trying to put things on their children. We're talking about knowing oneself. We're talking about being in control of how we react to things. So with that said, are we a product of our environment, or can we change the narrative that our environment has maybe attached to us? Let me get to Andre on this one. So again, are we a product of our environment, or can we change the narrative that that environment has prescribed to us, or may have just prescribed in general? May not even be to us specifically, but yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. We are all product of our environment until we grow up out of that stage and become a product of your own self.
Hello.
For example, when meaning I grew up now around my grandmother, and at a certain age, I think like fourth form, grade 10, grade 11, start to really, at first growing up as a youth, I never really liked reggae music. When we say reggae music, the one drop music, the Sizzler, Kalanji music at the time, when we hear it as a 7-year-old, it's like him sing about black African, black woman and race, like boring. But when we hear the bassline music, funny enough, here comes Iwin singing about love, singing about eating healthy. And I remember I tried to practice what I'm hearing in that song for the first time. And my grandmother look at me and be like, you not eat the meat, you follow the dirty ras. And it lit me, it hurt, it kind of, it's like a struggle start to develop right up because in my head it's like, in my practice love though, at the end of the day, like when I'm listening to music, in my talk about love. And you are tell me about love in church and all of that. So it's like basically the same thing it's what you guys saying. But why you say is a dirty ras? Why you say don't listen in music? So from there, so I start to realize that, yeah, oh, my grandmother is a product of her upbringing. I am a product of that. But something inside of me just sparked that to start to think of my own, to critically think, so wait. Caesar Kalanji was saying the same thing when I was 7, but that time I was just a giddy wild kid, just a wild child being the product of my environment until the product of me started to take over. Just to use a scripture from the Bible when it said, your parents shall, when you start to find a true savior, your parents will forsake you. You know what I mean? And then that's what the one that clicked into my head like, whoa. Not to say I'm saying Selassie was God. I was saying more, love is God. You know what I mean? Because that's what he was preaching. He was just using Selassie as a reference, like how we have Jesus again. Because all those public figures that people talk of, whether it being Christ, whether it being a lawyer, or Jesus when I say Christ, or a lawyer, or Muhammad, they are all men who walked the earth and was just a good example where people could use. So maybe when we pass on and then maybe people going to look at Gaddafi as a good person 100 years from now, you know what I mean? But he never get to fulfill his purpose. But to others who control the narrative may say Gaddafi is a bad person. But if you go and research it for yourself, you can actually do what Gaddafi was doing, and we can actually do what Christ was doing himself too, So I think we're all a product until a certain stage where you grow up to become a product of your own self and having your own community in your kids, which is your offspring.
Boy, Andre, you're so big on the self-development, the self-motivation, the self-knowledge. I love it. I really love it. Kimmy, you seem to be bubbling as soon as this topic came up. So I just want to throw it to you before, I need you to simmer. So say what you have to say and then simmer. Right? So are you a product of are we products of our environments, or can we change the narratives?
I'd say yes to both. You know what I mean? Your environment can affect your mood. It can affect your motivation. You could be surrounded by really negative people. But like Andre said, like you can live that way up until you kind of check yourself and say, hey, you know what? This ain't for me. So just like Barris Hammond says, putting up a resistance, I'm gonna work it out. There's a little resistance up in there within that's like, you know what? I love happy. I like people that want to be happy and at peace. Misery loves company for sure. Sometimes, I've said this before. You talk to a friend and you hang up and you're like, womp, womp. You know what I'm saying? And it's interesting too when it comes to like your parents wanting something for you and it kind of goes against your thing, like who you are within. The parents also have to check themselves and be like, hey, what is it that I'm missing here that isn't lining up? Like, why am I so tight? Why am I so forceful? Why can't I do more of what you mentioned, Bo, about pouring into what my kid is interested in and supporting them all the way? So I believe in our resistance. I believe that, once you really get your own memo and check yourself before you riggedy wreck yourself, you have a chance of living a really peaceful, fabulous, beautiful life, regardless of your environment. But you got to get that memo and come on out of there.
Earnford,
Yes,
I have
sir.
a quick question for you. You see, you believe that as human, we have an energy, right? We all have an energy that can connect with each other. So we're all extension of each other's.
Yes.
Yeah? All right. So if I can motivate myself, I can activate your inner weakness too, in a sense. Because if you look upon it now, that's how I always say now, life is so simple. But because we get it complicated, not because of we come see life, right? But it's so make it so complicated that we overlook the simple thing. And if we can master the simple things, then which is first and foremost love. When they say love, like really genuinely love and care and compassion about yourself and about life itself and attributes, and say, yeah, me now got disrespect this brother. If that's what him see as film joy, we just leave it there. So, because first and foremost, none of us supposed to be judgmental. So if we remove the whole judging thing and us as a love, you'll be surprised to see the extension or your energy can pass on to somebody else and ignite him to probably him motivating you tomorrow. So it's like you're putting an investment in a saving and you can draw from it. So to be honest with you, man, like this destiny coincident thing is, I just look upon it like, wow, life shouldn't even be about we brainstorming if it's coincident. As I said, I'm glad the time when I grew up, because everybody have it. As I said, growing up as a youth, you just have to adhere to your parents and adhere to where the surroundings say, because you may offend them and then box you. And you know it go when you're growing up in the Caribbean family. Them tell you, where you hear that from? And but if you really just try to really just figure out you, brother. Honestly, if you figure out you figure out the whole thing and see the picture clear. You won't even get up tomorrow and be mad. Not to say you can't, because we're human beings. That's what happened, right? Even Jesus wept. So that show you again as an example. That's an example.
Now, what you're touching upon right there is so in alignment with what Basil Burrell was saying in the comment here. And he was saying you can try to motivate other people, but the greatest motivation is the motivation that comes from within. So everyone can try to motivate, but best motivation comes from within. So, you and Basil, they're upon the same ends,
Yeah. Like father, like son, man, I say you go, man. Trust me, man.
Let me get Joe to weigh in on this right here. I want to hear his view on product of your environment. Change the narrative.
I agree with both what Andre and Kimmy were saying. It's at a certain point you are a product of your environment, but you do have the capability to switch it afterwards. For some people, it's a lot harder depending on how you grew up. There's a comment in here talking about how parents telling their kids they don't have purpose. It's really hard to hear that your whole life and then think you can just come out and have purpose. I also think too that like motivation doesn't last. Motivation is like a spark. You hear a song, I'm motivated. 10 minutes later, you're done. So the way to combat that is to create little habits that you do on a daily basis that become fundamental to who you are, which is changing the narrative of how you're growing. Do you mean, Kimmy, how often do you write in your journal?
I hear that, I hear that.
When you make these things, these little habits that change the way you are, and it might even be like you have these friends that you don't like hanging out with, You just don't hang out with them 6 days a week. You start with hanging out with them 5 days a week. Then you realize, I don't need these people in my life, or I don't need these things in my life. I need this. I need Jesus, whatever it is.
So I want you to expand on that real quickly, Joe. So you said that you can change the narrative and you can change your environment. It's not always easy. It's not always hard. I just want you to touch upon that more. You have some people who are in certain environments or in certain realms around certain people, and clearly they need to get out of that space, right? But somehow, they're stuck to it, whether it's loyalty, whether it's they've known the person for, many, many years, whether they feel some type of attachment in terms of, there's a monetary need. So can you talk about just changing circles? How do you change your circle? How do you change your environment?
You just do. It's that simple. Like, I need you to give me a scenario based around it, because I can go through it. If you're in an abusive relationship, you need to get up and leave. If you have great friends that help you and you're all building a business together, you need to find more friends like that and stick around with them and hang out. Like, there's too many scenarios I can walk you through that I just don't think it's too easy just to say, oh, it's this. Let's talk about a person who's in an abusive relationship. They have a kid, and then the person pays all the bills. So you can't just get up and leave that situation in 1 second. It's hard. You have to make a plan. Where am I going to go? Who can I stay with? And I'm only speaking from things I've dealt with in my experience, but there's so many situations out there that you can just in one instant change the narrative of your life. And it's what framework you put around it. Are you sitting there saying, taking the victim mentality? Oh, I can't do this. I'm not strong enough. I'm too weak. I can't afford to buy a house. Go live in a cardboard box in the summertime if you're being abused. Do you know what I mean? I'm saying that in a very casual way. I know it's harder than that. I don't want people attacking me saying I'm not being realistic, but you can one instant change your life. Good and bad. You can make decisions both ways. You know what I mean? I think of parents, who cheat on their spouses and then they don't get to see their kids anymore. Was that, one evening with that person worth the time that you're losing with your family now? Those little decisions we make and on a regular basis affect our lives immensely.
So let's talk about pivoting then, Kimmy. What happens when your environment changes on you, and then you have to find a way to change how you do things?
Mm.
Yeah, I definitely can speak from experience with that, where my environment ended up changing on me and I had to get out. Okay, so really and truly to chop it up into small little pieces, I literally started writing down the things that I love, right? Just the things that I love that put a smile on my face outside of the madness. Then I started, you know what I mean? Writing a little bit more, just kind of disconnecting myself. And the journal, man, that really helped me because it was my alone time, my quiet time. And then I started to expand because at some point, as therapeutic as my journal was for me, I went years without even being able to put the pen to paper and have the reality of my environment be that real, right? So that's why I have to shift it to things that I love, things that make me smile. What's my favorite song? What did I used to love to do before these things happened? And really, even if it was small periods of time, take a little bit of time to self-reflect on who I am outside of that. And then you just start little bit by little bit by little bit. I made a vision board. I started looking up goal setting, and you know what I mean? And even though I just had the information, and I actually ended up becoming a paper clutterer because I would print out all this free stuff at work. I was moving. I had 5 different bins of paper. I'm like, oh my God, 10 steps to happiness, 5 steps to financial freedom, all these different things. But I started to seek information. I seeked out resources. I seeked out counseling, free a lot of the time. I seeked out the time to work on myself. And then you start building your way up and out. So that's how I did it. You know what I mean? Because I knew inside this not make it at all for me. I got to go. There's too much fabulosity here being wasted with this poo and the drama and the funk. You know what I mean?
So you're echoing a lot of Joe's sentiments in terms of to change, you need a plan.
Yes.
All right. All right. So Andre, it seems like Joe and Kimmy, yourself as well, you're kind of mature as well. So we're speaking from a different space in life where we are a little bit more mature. How would you, if you were speaking to a teenager, somebody who was still under their parents' rule, and they needed to change an environment, do you think that's something that they're capable of doing? And can you tell me how it is that you would direct them to change environment?
So when you say change environment, I mean geographically speaking, or around the people that they hang out with?
Amen. I just said environment, so you can take it any way you would like it.
All right, then. As a teenager, saying 18 now, I think you should take that step, because sometimes what happens is you go somewhere where you're new to, you become your friend's best friend. You become yourself best friend. You know, because you don't know anyone in the beginning, so you start to think critically too. So even your next step, like where should I apply for your job? You say you're starting fresh, so it's like a new page you get to really write that script. So when you make that step, sometimes it's out of fear why we don't want to leave that environment, because it's a common ground, you know, we used to it. So even though you want to let it go, you still don't want to let it, because you're like saying, you know what, the old devil is better than a new devil, you know. But sometimes the opportunity is there just to make that step. So maybe physically you make that step can lead to an emotional change or inner change, because you start to think more to yourself. You don't have anybody to talk to. So I would encourage anyone, from personally speaking from myself, I would say I wish I'd moved to Ottawa from a long time. But guess what now? I am the person that I am now, to accept that, you know what, the past teach you everything. Everything in the past actually make up to where you're at right now. Maybe you never experienced it that time, so you can't regret nothing. You should never do nothing and regret it. Because if you never lived that moment at 5 o'clock, you would never know what 5 o'clock would have been if you never experienced 5 o'clock. So at the end of the day, I would tell a youth that, yeah, make this step out and just go. Even if you don't know no one, guess what? Where you were at the current time, you never know it before, but how you survive, you get new friends. So I think sometimes it's good to just go a new environment, change of scenery, can actually make a big difference. And just to start to cut you again, Ren, I remember when I was in high school, I was giving trouble. Not trouble still, but you know,
play football. You're giving trouble. You said it right the first time, trouble.
No, we take advantage of the system where we play football, we know we could get a repeat. Mess up my grade 11, just saying, yeah, I'm going to come back. New principal came and he was suggesting that, oh, change of environment. And I was like to him, no, I'm a patriot. You know what I mean? Like, one school and that's it. I'm not changing school and blah, blah, blah. I have my friends here. And he's like, that's a problem. You know everybody. And I'm like, exactly my problem. That's why I want to stay. But growing up now, I realized moving to Ottawa now, I'm starting to look back like, oh, that's what the principal meant, because I know glad for the change that I make from that environment. And I'm looking at the positive that come out of changing, that's making that step. I'm urging others now, even my father, like, come out here, come out here, come out here. And I realize it's the same problem he probably have, where he's comfortable where I'm at and knowing that, yeah, I already used to this one, man. I already start a new page. But I'm afraid to make that step. So I understand perfectly what the principal mean now. Maybe I've gone somewhere else. I would have bring a different me. Maybe I don't think critical. Maybe my thoughts of being a critical thinker would have changed that time. Because critical thinking mean what? I'm thinking while I'm thinking so that my thinking can become better. You know what I mean? So it's like, wow, you think about a thought and your thought, think of it. So it's like train, real deep thinking. So for me, I think, as I said, the environment, if you want to change the environment, fine with me. If you want to change a friend and when you're there around, I don't think you change a friend. I think you can go and get wiser and come back and empower those friends. You know why? Them same friends are going to come be your rock. Those same friends are going to become your human diary. Because maybe you going to lack motivation someday, or you just get tired. And them can remind you like, brother, remember you do this, remember you. So I think the best cure is having humans as diary. You know, that's my favorite diary. Sometimes I mess up and I can have somebody remind me, oh, Tiger, remember this is the plan, this was the goal, or remember this situation. So you have to go back. That's my thing. You leave and go back and make them stronger, you know?
I hear you. Joe, I'm going to tie in a question that we had earlier. What would you say to a young person, teenager, who was in a home and was not getting the motivation, was not getting the encouragement, what would you say to them if they were saying that, I just need to change my environment and they're too young to go out on their own? How would you approach that type of situation?
You have to focus on what you can control. So you can get up early. You can get up at 5. Like you can get up at 5 a.m. You can go do the things that you're passionate about. Like I like to use sports references because I was an athlete. You can get up and train at 6 a.m. Get up, get out of the house, and just spend as little time as you can around the people that are making you negative. Surround yourself with good, positive people, and like it's the same when people grow up in bad households. There's systems in place. School, after school programs, sports. Arts that you can get involved in that can take your mind away from those people and allow you to progress in the life that you need to. And then as soon as you're old enough to get out. Stop relying on them for the shit you need.
That was very good.
So
hopefully we can soundbite it so we can use it as a promotional educational video. Kimmy, same question to you. You want me to repeat it?
Who you talk to?
Are you me a chat?
Who?
Are you me a chat?
Me?
Yo, anyone else here named Kimmy?
I didn't hear the Kimmy part. I was just like, oh, okay, who's he talking to? That's why I asked.
It just rolls off of the tongue now.
I didn't know. I'm happy to hear that, though. Anyway.
TikTok.
You're making me flash and blush. Okay, what was the question now? I'm all rolling in the tongue.
So we had some comments earlier about parents not being able to motivate or discouraging children. And now we are talking about changing environment. So what would you say to a young person who is, for all intent and purpose, they are stuck in that household for that particular time? How can they change their environment?
Yeah, definitely, acknowledging that the environment is not working to maximize their potential is really good. I see a lot of people that are the product of a really negative, non-supportive environment. So one of the things I would tell to a young person is, first of all, you are not a mistake. There is a reason why you're here. And sometimes life does come with its ups and downs, and we can't change people. And like Joe said, there's certain things that you are in control of and you're not in control of. And regardless of how somebody may be treating you or not inspiring you, you need to know that there is love inside you. There is worth inside of you. For me, I like to preach. I like to, I'll even say, listen, how I did it, I Googled certain scriptures. I Googled what is a good scripture to restore my faith. What is a certain scripture to give me hope? What does God say about me according to the scripture? And for me, it was like kind of beyond just like, okay, well, go read the book. I Googled that stuff, right? I Googled specific things to help give me some affirmations and to start getting my mind out of the funk. So telling a young person, listen, man, don't worry about them thing there. You're going to survive. You have a purpose, and let's break it down. What do you love? What's possible right now? If you have access to the internet, do some research, write a list, make a plan, and then just elevate yourself out of it, and let them know that, hey, man, you're fabulous, you're talented, and you're not the product of poo. You are a miracle within this mess.
I just want to say, Kimmy, like, I appreciate you using fabulosity way more than poo. Because you use poo a lot today, so I don't want that to be the hashtag. No, dash with that. Dash with flush it.
Yeah.
Flush it. I'm bringing back the fabulosity. All right, so I have one question. So me, I'm a guy, I like to balance things, right? So we're talking about on a negative term, on a negative connotation where people are in houses where they're not receiving encouragement. This is to everyone. Answer it as you feel. What would you say about people who come with a lot of environments where they have a lot of support? There might even be affluence. There might be opportunities. We see this happening in society a lot. And it's like life is too easy. So these people change their environment and then go to the slums and start doing things that they have no business doing. What would you say on somebody doing something like that? Anyone can take it.
You gotta direct your fruit into the right pockets. Even if they've got all the stuff that they think that they need, you gotta be a blessing to somebody, man. You gotta see how you can take what you've got and help others, pass a smile, pass on encouragement, and no poo but fabulosity.
Yeah, but I'm talking about somebody who's changing their environment for the worse. They're in a what some would call an ideal environment, an ideal spot, right? So with all of that, but then they pivot and they change their environment for way worse, just because they want to rebel, just because they want to stick it to their parents. What would you say to individuals doing those type of things?
I'd say if you don't want to hear, you gotta feel. You want to see what that lifestyle come with, you gotta feel it.
Yep, so, she's right. Sometimes you just gotta let them go.
Mm-hmm.
As a friend, you're like, this is how I feel, but I think you're going down the wrong way, and so that's when you have to separate.
And how passionate would you be on trying to get them on the right path? To have them see her with me? Pardon me?
Depends how close they are with me.
Okay.
Like if Kimmy called me and said I'm quitting the show, like we don't know each other that well, I'd be like, okay, I don't want you to leave, but if you got to go, you got to go. Like there's too many contingencies to give you a direct answer. But someone I know very well, I would be involved a lot more than someone I'm just friends with or acquaintances with.
Andre, you have anything to say on that?
Well, as I was saying earlier, the millionaire kid would always have a way to make it out. So if someone grew up with a lot of positive influences and want to try the negative life or just to experience what it feels like, that person is easier to fix than the person who born in the slum. Because at some time he's gonna realize, as I said, because there's a spirit inside of that person who is gonna remind, like, for example, go in the slum and say someone probably pop a gun off on that person. That individual now going probably realize, shoot, I did have it this good. So it's easier for that person to be fixed than someone who's from the slum in my context. And also that person going to the slum will probably inspire others, because guess why now? You only can speak of your history based on how you live it. They can't come make up a history. So you're probably going to be like, yeah, my mom used to encourage me to become this. Or the other person will look like, then what you do down here? You know what I mean? So you can probably have to look on life somewhere. Maybe that part was just for you to go down there and probably influence others to become something too. So maybe you're going there thinking you're going to live a slum life, but the slum people, them need motivation. And when they hear your story, it's like, bro, thank you for coming down here. You kind of, me realize, and then you probably see to yourself like, yeah, me belong somewhere. This may probably my purpose. Maybe we need to go and encourage other people. So sometimes things like that, life is so dynamic, brother. I just say it doesn't set in stone. So that was just a part where that person come from. But that person was raised being around a lot of just a positive vibe and affluent people. So I'm probably going to slum and just realize, shoot, this is my calling, So I don't worry about that person who's trying to be the cool kid.
All right. Listen, man, lady and gentlemen, this has been another great session, another great evening. We're over time, but we can still go. I know there was a few questions in the chat. I want to get to those questions and make sure that we answer everything that people have put up, because at Join the Chat, it's all about you joining our conversation, allowing your voice to be heard, allowing your opinion to be presented, and speaking and just hearing. So Giselyn is saying about motivating yourself. Can you share how you overcame or beat your inner self that doesn't want to move forward? Maybe share some tips. Who wants
to take this one?
Take it, Joe.
I think you really have to understand where you want to go. And people sometimes when we're stuck in a rut, I'll use myself and being overweight at the time, I wanted to lose a certain amount of weight. I had to put it on paper. Your thoughts, you need to write them down, because when you write them down, you can take action on that plan. And that action, as long as you're moving towards that action, like we spoke about at the beginning of this call, you're being successful. Too many times we give ourselves a timeline, 90 days to get fit, 21-day fix, 75 hard, all these little things that we do. You have to change your mindset for the long game and not the short game, because too many times life changes and you get derailed from what you're doing, but you always need to go back to what's true to yourself. You have children, you might not be able to work on your singing career for a couple of weeks because they're sick, but you can always come back to that. I can always come back to my health. If I make my mental and physical health number one, I'll be a better person to help everyone around me.
And one thing I just want to add to that, Joe, too, sometimes we have to change our platforms and our forums, right? So you, taking your singing example, you might not have enough time to practice, because your children are there, but instead of aiming for the Apollo, you can start singing with, local bands, and you can do that on your own time or with times that are convenient to you. So the singing aspect doesn't change, but the form and the platform may. Yeah. So sometimes we have to just change our optics on what that form is going to be.
And that can even just be your shower.
You know what, though? That inner, you can't do it, you ain't good enough, that inner thing that we all have to battle can be a very tough one to beat. And so breaking it down again, it's important sometimes, especially when you are really starting, to fill your mind with positive views of yourself, listen to positive music. You know what I mean? Shout out to DMX, prayers up, my favorite poet and rapper. However, DMX could have me praising the Lord and have me ready to depending on what song I listen to, what mood I'm in. But music can influence us, the things that we watch. You know what I mean? If I'm watching all these unrealistic shows, keeping up with the Kardashians, watching everybody else's Pinterest and stuff like that, knowing deep down I ain't probably ever going to get to that level, it makes you feel like poo, oh, I wish. Let's be grateful. What do I have? What am I doing with what I got? I can't watch these big body people that live their life and I sit here watching them live life and I live my life. I want to live and be alive. It's a combo plate, but to battle that negative poo, and we're surrounded, it is surround sound all the time. Negative, poo. Sorry, Bo, because you said, like me if I say poo, man, if I say poo. So it's important to combat that, to intentionally combat it and say, I am wonderful. I am divine fabulosity. I'm beautiful. I am enough. You, none of y'all perfect. We all messed up. All of us have our own mess in different toilets. We just got to keep on flushing and keep it moving.
Andre, I'm going to send it to you as well. Do you have any comments on that question that was posted?
The new one or the first one about the nature, you overcome? Well,
you can go on that. If you want to answer the next one as well, you can do that too.
Naz, I'll just answer Gislin. Well, how you overcome it, as I say, you can just, again, use history, your own history to say, well, what struggle have I encountered and where is that struggle now in the past? I overcome that struggle, I overcome that hurdle. So if I did that hurdle, this is just another hurdle. It's just all about talking to yourself into positive things, you know what I mean? And we all experience negative or experience down times. So it's just to look back and say, well, I knocked over yesterday. Why can't I knock out today again, and tomorrow same way? So it's just all about remembering where you're coming from to say, yeah, I overcome this hurdle. So this one is nothing. It's the same thing. Just make you stronger after this moment.
I really like that question come from Gislaine. I'm going to add to it as well. So as you're speaking about the inner self, it's a great place for you to be in, to know that you are having that inner battle. And what I would also say is get out of your own head. Limit the time that you're by yourself as well. Maybe you need to be around other people. That might be a tip for you to be able to get out of the inner negativity. Change your own inner environment. right? Go outside, go for a walk, and sometimes we're just trapped and locked up in our own minds, and we got to get out of it. So that would be another suggestion that I'd have for you as a tip. I know that's something that I do. I'm very hard on myself. Sometimes I need to just go out and see society and I'm not that bad. I'm all right.
Yeah.
I'm all right.
You're doing all right, buddy. You're doing all right.
Let's go to the last question from Basil. Basil says, question to the panel. Do you think we are a product of our environment, or is it a mixture of nature and nurture? We touched upon this a little bit
earlier. Yeah.
He's adding a different element. He's talking about that mixture of nature and nurture. So I think he's being a little bit more specific than what we were earlier. Does anyone want to take this?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Andre.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead, Moon.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. No, Kimmy just
you go ahead. You go ahead.
What I do?
No, I was just telling you to go because the two men are fighting.
Oh, Lord.
Oh.
I can take it if you don't want to.
Yeah, man.
Go ahead, Joe. Go ahead, Joe.
Okay. Kimmy looks like she's thinking. I don't know.
Okay, so listen, it is definitely a mix of nature versus nurture. Because y'all playing ping pong over there, It's definitely a mix. Somebody that is surrounded by the values, the inner loving, and those type of things, it is going to have an effect on their outcome. Same, and a lot of times it's like repeating cycles, you know what I mean? And it varies along the spectrum. A lot of people I know, they come from a line of bitter, resentful people. So even though they weren't living in a shack here or grew up poor, they were poor in the sense of no zest for life. All men suck. Womp, womp, womp. You find a man, I could just cheat on you and woo, woo, woo. This person will treat you bad. And then that person starts to kind of even attract that because that's what they're thinking. So they're putting it out there. So then they're getting it. And then they're replaying the whole womp, womp cycle, right? And then it passes on. But it is definitely possible to say, hey, you know what? I believe that there's good people out there. I do believe that my environment can be changed. And the more I believe it, the more I think it, the more I need it into my brain, situations start to come about because you start planting them seeds. And then the next thing you know, you're walking by and there's this fabulous person that's just like, oh my gosh, you are so fabulous. Who are you? Like, oh my gosh, you're fabulous too.
Can I get some of those seeds?
Nice to meet you. I'm gonna sprinkle them all over this place.
Yeah.
Make it rain with the seeds, yo.
You look like you're in deep thought, man. Go ahead, release.
Yeah. Well, with the mixture of nature and nurture, because we already discussed in the environment part, so yeah, we're all product of the environment. We're all product of we're all a mixture of nature and nurturing too. And it's two of them tend to sometimes clash, where you can look on it as the nurturer is someone who not be necessarily a parent, but your whole soul, so to speak, or you're close to you. That could consider the inner self, and the nature could consider outside, meaning your neighbors. So when I say conflict, your neighbor, as I was saying, my grandmother, it was my neighbors who exposed me to the reggae type of music playing and or the Rasta lifestyle we are living. And then at home now, the nurture clash with it. We say we never grow that way there. Why you do this and why you do that? But as I said earlier, it's gonna come to a point now where you gonna be your own self, and then you pick and choose from your past, your upbringing. So picking from nature what you know, or you can feel it in your core that this feel right. And then you can pick from the nurture and say, this is right. And you can eliminate too. So as you go along, is where you're gonna pick from that mixture when you become that. I not even want to use the word adult, because an 18-year-old can master the inner self and have control too. So it's when you grow up and actually master the inner you that you can say, okay. So you pick from both of them. So it's a both mixture. We are a mixture of our nature or nurture. But as I say, it's like an extension of the inner self and the outer self kind of having a conflict at time. And sometimes the outer side is right, and sometimes the majority of the time the inner one is right too, So that's just my take on that one.
Joe, nature, nurture.
I think it's the nature of the way you have been nurtured.
Ooh, mic drop.
But like I say that comment, and what exactly I mean by that is what Andre's saying. Like there's no way around it. You know, it doesn't matter where you grew up. You can grow up poor, rich, but if the people in that home were not loving you, you know, it's going to change the outcome of yours. So the nature of what you go around you. You have lots of money, or you're poor or broke. It doesn't make a difference. It's how you're nurtured in that nature. You know, if the family loves you and you have money, great, you have a better chance of getting through. If you're poor and the family loves you, you still have a better chance of getting through. You know, growing up poor with two parents is a lot easier than growing up poor with one parent. Growing up rich with one parent is a lot harder than growing up rich with two parents. You know, so all these things intertwine to kind of pull out, you know, your like the person you're going to be. And I want to touch on something because we're talking about these voices in our little head and motivation. You have to squish that little bitch voice in your head and tell them to shut up. And that's where the real dialogue comes in. And that's where you start to grow and get better. The more you can take the voice that's up here and squish this one saying, I'm not good enough, I can't do it. And it's exactly what Kimmy said. It starts by little, hey, I'm beautiful. You know, I'm going to look in the mirror every day and say I'm beautiful. I don't like the way I look. Okay, I'm going to do 50 push-ups today. I'm going to keep going. And you just have to fight that little battle. And the stronger you get with that little voice inside your head, that's where you start to accomplish good and great things. Kim's got a fan club going on here, right?
Amen.
Shout out to everybody in the comments. Shout out, man. Much love. Thank you guys for coming in.
All right, check it out. So we are at the end of our session today. Another dynamic one. This has been fun. This has been enlightening. It's been eye-opening. I just want I want to give an opportunity for everyone to have a last say on anything, and maybe it's something that's not even related to what we were speaking about today, but you have your 30 seconds to sign off. Andre, what would you like to say?
For the viewers, I just want to say life is simple, and don't follow ungrateful people and make it seem hard, as I will say, you know. Just try and conquer your own demons, try and make yourself acceptance of your own self, and then you learn to accept others. Again, it sounds simple, but that's the point. You know, just try and be simple in all your doings.
Joe, final words.
Yo, listen to Andre. The man's right. Yeah. Yo, just be good to people. Don't waste your time on comments on Facebook, social media. Don't worry about that stuff. No one gives a crap about your life. No one gives a crap about mine except for me and my family. Yeah. Do you. Have fun. Don't worry about all the other little nonsense going on.
Kimmy, throwing it your way.
Oh, man. What a fabulous evening. What a juicy discussion. And I just want anybody out there that's listening to know that you are fabulous. You are not here by accident. You know what I mean? Pour into yourself. Keep on loving. Work on forgiveness. Let the past go. We can't do nothing about yesterday, but we can do something about right now and tomorrow. And I love y'all. Mew, mew, mew all over you.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we had a recurring theme that happened through almost every conversation that we had tonight, and it was about self-development and self-reflection. So as we sign off here this night, this afternoon, wherever you are, this morning, wherever you are in the world, we want to encourage you to know yourself, analyze yourself, love yourself, reflect upon yourself, and know that the only person who can truly stop you is yourself. So don't stop yourself. This is Join the Chat, the place where every single voice matters, where your opinions are important, where you are empowered to express yourself, and we try to give you a free and an open space to speak and also to be heard. If you like what you saw today, or you want to play it back or send it to somebody else, join us on our YouTube channel at Join the Chat 1, or you can hit us up on Snapchat, Join the Chat 1.
Instagram.
Join the Chat 1. All right, one love, everyone. I am your host, your moderator. On behalf of Joe, Andre, and Kimmy, Renford, Mr. Bojangles, we signing off for another session of Join the Chat. Bless.
Thank you.
Yeah.